Hello everyone, and I have this crazy theory on the Zelda timeline, and today I'm going to be explaining it. Okay, so let's say Minish Cap goes first. Why, you might ask? Okay, in my timeline, Minish Cap goes first because, as you all know, there is no Master Sword in it. It's the Four Sword, and at the very end, Eslo makes Link a hat, a green cap, because at the very beginning he doesn't have a hat. And Eslo, sorry, if you've played Minish Cap, then you know that he's a hat. Well, anyway, so that's Link's green cap throughout that game. So anyway, at the very end, Eslo makes him a green cap that looks pretty much like himself, just without the duck bill. And, and he says, it looks good on you. Many heroes will wear this hat, or whatever. So, that's how Link gets his many hats. I've played the Minish Cap game through many times, and, there is no mention of Ganondorf, no mention of the Triforce. I mean, there's been, bits and pieces of it, but it hasn't actually been called the Triforce. It was called the Golden Power or something like that. Either way, you all know what I mean. So, at this part of the timeline, I know it's the first, but it sort of branches off into its own timeline. Okay, so after Minish Cap, it's going to branch off into its own timeline, having Four Swords and Four Swords Adventure, which are going to be after that, of course, after Minish Cap. So but that's the end of that timeline. So, on the normal timeline, we have Minish Cap. And then you're going to move on to the first Legend of Zelda game. The first Legend of Zelda game also had no Master Sword. There was only the White Sword. And, as you can see, Link had a hat. A green cap. So, yes. That preferably fits next. So, after that would be Skyward Sword. This is where the Master Sword starts, because Link gets Link gets the Goddess Sword, and it has a spirit in it called Fi. Well, Fi calls him Master, and at the end of the game, the sword is locked back up. Like most of the games, anyway. So, through time, it's called the Master Sword. Well, that's my little theory of it. So, that's where the Master Sword originates. So, after Skyward Sword is Ocarina of Time. And, I forgot to say, Zelda, the first one, has a little timeline branching off of it. Okay, after the first Zelda is Zelda 2, Link's, The Adventure of Link, and then branching off of that is Link's Awakening, and then off of that is the Oracle of Ages and the Oracle of Seasons. So, you got that little timeline by itself, too. So there's two timelines already figured out. So, anyway, there's those two timelines, but the first game in those two timelines are in the main timeline. So we got Minish Cap, the first Legend of Zelda, Skyward Sword, I just explained to you why that came third, and Ocarina of Time. Now, in the beginning of this, Link has no fairy. Of course, why am I even saying this? Whatchamacallit. At the end of Ocarina of Time, people say that it splits into two different timelines. I'm gonna go with that. You see, it just seems like something. Yeah, it just seems like that would sound right. Because he could just go back and save the world again if he wanted, or he could live a normal life. So, that's what these two timelines split into. Gosh. So, anyway, after Link gets sent to the past, it shows a clip, or video, whatever you want to call it, of when he first met Zelda. Well, a lot of you say when he first met Zelda. One guy thought it was just a clip of him going back to see Zelda again, but Zelda didn't remember him or any of that. See, in my theory, Zelda remembers him and gives him the Ocarina of Time back, since he doesn't have it because he gave it to Zelda and went back to the past. He gave it back to Zelda, and then she sent it to the past. So whatchamacallit, she would have it, and anyway, so she decides to give it to him, and that's where the timeline split, I would say, maybe. No, that's for the second timeline over here, which is going to be on the right. I don't have a computer, so I can't edit these pictures and stuff. Anyway, the timeline would be over here on the right, would be the timeline where he's still the hero and he still saves the day and all that. Well, if you go by that timeline, she gives him the Ocarina back because he went to go see her again. So anyway, she also gives him a shield, the hero shield, specifically because she remembers that he saved the day and all that. Because she's pretty much the same Zelda that was in the future. She's just little and young. It's like Link. He remembers everything, of course, and all that. He's just young. So, that's my theory. Now, the whole shield thing, I bet you when at the beginning of Majora's Mask, you still have the Kokori sword and the hero shield. See, at that point, you didn't have the hero shield. That point in Ocarina, all you had was the Kokori sword. That point in Ocarina of Time. And you might have had the Hylian shield. It just depends on how much you played the game. If you didn't want to do every little bitty detail and all that, you probably still had the Deku shield by then. But I had the Hylian shield. Anyway, in Majora's Mask, you have the hero shield at the very beginning, and you don't even get a hero shield in Ocarina of Time, I don't believe. No, you get the Deku shield, the Hylian shield, and the Mirror shield. Yeah, so you don't get a hero shield in Ocarina of Time. So that would explain, when he went back to the past, she had someone like a blacksmith or something craft him the hero's shield, which looks pretty much like the Hylian shield, except it's different in shape, and the design is a little bit, it looks almost the same, except it looks more ancient, or whatever you want to call it. Anyway, so that's my theory of why he still has the Ocarina and all that on this side of the timeline. So, because at the beginning of Majora's Mask, he still has the Ocarina, and he has a sword, the Kokori sword, to be specific, and the hero shield. And at that time, you couldn't even, there's not even a hero shield in Ocarina of Time. So yeah, that's my theory of why he had the hero shield. So, after Majora's Mask is going to be Link to the Past. Why Link to the Past, you might ask? Because at the end of Majora's Mask, we all know Link's still young and all that. So, yeah, Link's still young. And this game is supposedly, people say, the character is young Link. So, I mean, we all don't know it's a Super Nintendo game, and the graphics are a little so it's hard to tell if he's old Link or young Link. He's certainly not old Link, let's just say that. So it's young Link, so that's where that storyline continues on. Well, I say after I heard another guy say this, after wait, no. I was almost thinking Twilight Prince. No, not Twilight Prince. I was almost thinking A Link to the Past went up in the Four Swords series, but it doesn't because it has the Master Sword. But now about the Master Sword, this is why it goes before Twilight Princess. Excuse me. Excuse me. The Master Sword at the end of Link to the Past was put into a stone pedestal in the forest. Well, we all know in Twilight Princess, you get the sword, the Master Sword, in a stone in the forest. See? So, there's that. So that's that end of the timeline until we get some new games. I think I've almost got all the games sort of put here. Anyway, on this side of the timeline is where I'm going to use those rest of the games that I didn't mention on this side. Anyway, on this side of the timeline, which is going to be the left side, we have the other side of Ocarina of Time, the other ending, where nothing ever happened. I mean, like, he didn't go back to see Zelda, he lived his normal life, he didn't have the Ocarina or any of that. He stayed in the forest Kokiri. Or Kokiri Forest, whatever you want to call it. Sorry. So, excuse me, loogie. Anyway, so he stayed in the forest, and, anyway, at the beginning of Wind Waker, I believe it says Ganondorf came back, or something, evil came back to the land, and there was no hero, or something like that. I don't know. That's the only Zelda game I have never owned. I have never even seen any real footage of. I mean, I've never played it. I've never seen it actually, like its case or anything. The only time I have ever seen anything on Wind Waker was on YouTube. I'm sorry I have to say that. I am a huge Zelda fan, and I really want to get that game. The thing is there's something about the GameCube I just didn't get very into. The only game I have for the GameCube would be Super Smash Bros. Melee, Twilight Princess, and Zoid's Battle Legacy. But that's for another time. I'm sorry, I'm on this timeline thing. Anyway, so that's why I think Wind Waker comes after that, because I think at the beginning of Wind Waker it says that there was no hero to come back and save the day or whatever from the evil or something like that. So that's where all that comes. So now we're going to say, gosh, what are we going to say here? I would say Phantom Hourglass comes out of that, or comes after that, because they're sort of like one story. I mean, it's Phantom Hourglass is like a sequel. It's like what happens after Wind Waker, and it's almost like Wind Waker, just on the DS and all upper view and not third person and all that. So, wow. Sorry. So, after the Phantom Hourglass, we have Spirit Tracks. I know what a lot of you are probably saying, Spirit Tracks doesn't even have a spot in the timeline, because Spirit Tracks is blah blah this and blah blah that. Well, it does have a spot in the timeline, because when you get the guard clothes and you go back to when you go back to see Nico in the village after you when you go to upgrade your train in the village, and you whatchamacallit, your instructor, your train guy, whatchamacallit, he, asks you to go talk to Nico, your roommate or whatever, the old guy. Anyway, so you go and talk to him, and as we all know, there's a guy named Nico in, Wind Waker, I believe. I'm pretty sure there's one in Wind Waker. Yeah, I don't know, I never owned that game. Well, nor played it, so yeah. But, like I was saying, in Wind Waker, I believe there was a guy called Nico. Anyway, I know in Phantom Hourglass there was, because I have the game and I've played it. Anyway, so, there was a Nico in Phantom Hourglass. So, anyway, this guy Nico, if you look in the background, there's a picture of the Nico from Phantom Hourglass, or if there is one in Wind Waker, or either Phantom Hourglass or Wind Waker, standing on a ship. There's a picture of him in the background standing on a ship. And anyway, this old Nico, when you very first start the game, he does a little picture slideshow thingy, and whatchamacallit, like in, he does a little picture slideshow thingy like in Phantom Hourglass. See, they both begin with a little picture slideshow thing. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't own Wind Waker, so I really need to get that game. Anyway, I think it might start with the little slideshow thing from Nico. I don't think it does, though. But, either way, like I was saying, that little slideshow has nothing to do with anything anyway, so, what the point I'm getting to here is, when you have the guard clothes on and you go talk to him, he says, "You remind me of someone that I used to travel with," or something like that. I don't know. I haven't played the game, like, many times. I've only played it once. And I haven't memorized what he said. But anyways, excuse me. Anyways, yeah, he says that. And anyway, that's the end of that side of the timeline. So that's pretty much it. I think that's all the Zelda games. Let me count here. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's all the Zelda games, I think. Yeah, that is. Well, cool. We got them all. And anyway, that's my timeline until we get some new Zelda games. Thanks for listening. I'm not going to say watching. There was nothing to watch. Anyway, thanks for listening. I hope you subscribe. I mean, not that you will. You like me. Anyway, like or dislike. Do whatever you want. Thanks for watching. Bye.